Dino fish are coming to Aqualand today. These monsters will get to 7 feet in length. Unreal in this pond. Hey, what's up everybody? Ed the Pond Professor here. I am coming to you today from Aqualand, St. Charles, Illinois, the water garden capital of the world. I just got off the phone with Roy Baggio. He is on his way back from Kentucky. He just met with Dr. Stephen Mims. He has a PhD in aquaculture. He is the world's foremost expert on paddlefish. There's an expert in paddlefish in this world. We knew we would find him. Roy actually tracked him down, drove down to Kentucky so he could purchase some of these ancient fish. These are living dinosaurs. He's bringing them up as we speak. Has a huge vat in the back of a pickup truck. They are pumping in pure dissolved oxygen inside of the tank to keep these fish alive for the 6-hour journey. We're going to place them at the far end of our beautiful pond here. We have over 600,000 gallons of water. The pond is 12 feet deep at its maximum depth. What I love about bringing these fish in here, they are native to Illinois. They are not common, especially up in this part of Illinois and the northern areas, but they are native fish. They are planktivorous. That means they feed on plankton in the water. Plankton is basically small microscopic plants and animals, as well as pollen and any other things that are going to fall into the water, organic compounds. These fish are going to swim around with their mouths open like a basking shark or like a whale shark or like the baleen whales. They're going to feed on all of that plankton that's in the water. That's where they get their nutrition from. I'm totally looking forward to this. I have never actually seen a paddlefish in person in the wild. I've seen them in aquariums, but to actually be able to hold one of these things is going to be insane. My man Roy over here. You have been on the road for how many hours?
Almost 6 hours.
6 hours of travel time to get here. We want to get these fish into the pond. The world's foremost expert just told us, do not acclimate the fish. Take them from the tank directly into the pond. I always ask the experts first. Take the fish from this point A to point B, which is exactly what we're going to want to do. The water temperatures are actually probably really good right now because we have cold water. It's going to be highly oxygenated, not going to stress these fish. There's our man, the guy who wrote the book on paddlefish. He has developed the best system out there for breeding these guys in captivity. Let's make it happen. Let's get a couple in. All right, so this is also the approved method that he recommended. Oh, look at the size of that guy. You want to hand it down?
Yeah, hello tight.
Squeeze hard, squeeze hard.
Very powerful.
Super powerful.
Yeah. Squeeze hard.
This is a freaking dinosaur. Unbelievable.
He's 10 years old.
Eesh. I'm running. This guy is just amazing. All right, let's get him in here in the water as quickly as possible. Look at the size of this guy. One crazy powerful fish. Unbelievable. That is one cool fish. Thanks again, Roy. Thanks for taking the trip down there. This has been awesome. We're gonna be tracking the lives of these guys for years to come. I hope you enjoyed all those incredible paddlefish. This is gonna take that amazing pond to the next level, and I love working with unique species such as these incredible animals. Paddlefish, I mean, I never ever would have dreamt that we would have them in our front pond right here at our office. So this is really, really cool. I'm gonna transition now to the health of the aquatic ecosystem. So these amazing animals, they're great to have, they're great to talk about, but we have to have high quality water in order for them not just to survive, but to thrive in that aquatic environment. And it all starts in our aquascape ecosystem with our wetland filtration system. This is the heart of that system. So this is what's going to detoxify the water. I actually shouldn't say the heart. This is more like the kidneys and the liver. Like this is like the filtration system for the lifeblood of these ecosystems. So I'm going to show you how this is built first of all, and then I'm going to show you what we're actually doing, because we actually built these wetlands right here at our office back in 2008. Not much has actually changed since then. The reason being, it works. It actually works very, very, very efficiently. So let me show you exactly what we have. Right here I have my little bit of a schematic, a cross section of our wetland filtration system. This is a simplified version. So the beauty of the system is it is modular. So we can cut the end off of this unit, we could attach another one of these centipede modules on, and then we could put more AquaBlox on top of it, and we have more filtration capacity. We have higher flow rates, we have more river rock, we have more aquatic plants, etc. We have high velocity water coming in through our piping system. We have a 93% reduction of water velocity inside the initial centipede module. This is going to allow the big sediments and things like that to settle out of the water column. We then have another 90% reduction in water velocity as the water goes from this unit with all of these little slots right here, and it goes into this big open area of AquaBlox. Now, when designed properly, it should take between 9 and 10 minutes for the water to go just through the AquaBlox. That's a lot of time, so that's a very, very slow process. And the reason that we're doing that is we want the finer particulates to drop out of suspension. That way we could periodically clean them out, because remember, we have our snorkel vault over here. We could open that unit up, we could put a submersible pump down here in the bottom, we could draw water out, and what's going to happen is this entire process, instead of flowing up, is going to get a reverse flow, and the water is going to flow back down through everything, and it's going to pull all those sediments and things out. And the reason that's important, very, very simple. Biological filter is home for all different types of microorganisms. The nitrifying bacteria are very finicky. They don't like sediments. If we get a lot of sediment on that river rock, on the piece of rock, that's going to become colonized with the biofilms and things like that. But if you get too much sediment on those rocks, then nitrifying bacteria are going to suffer. They're not going to be as happy, and when they're not happy, that means other bacteria will get a foothold in that ecosystem, and the nitrifying bacteria will actually fade out, and you're going to get heterotrophic bacteria that are going to pick up the slack. You'll still have some filtration, but it's not as efficient. We want to try to remove as much of those sediments as possible, but here's where it becomes a little bit of a challenge. If we slow the water down too low, that means we're not going to have the proper water flow going through the gravel bed, but more importantly, we're not going to have the proper dissolved oxygen content in the water, because as the water is flowing through this bed of river rock here that is living, it's a living bed of stuff. As the water slowly works its way up through all that stuff, these little organisms are going to be feeding on soluble things that are in the water, but they're also going to be breathing at the same time. So they're going to be consuming oxygen as well as nutrients. So if we don't have enough fresh water coming into the system, you could have a dissolved oxygen crash. The entire filter bed will die, and you could actually kill off all the fish and the life and everything inside the entire ecosystem. So it's all about finding that proper balance. This wetland filter that I'm talking about has been in operation now since 2008. So it is 16 years as of this year. So it is time for a little bit of a renovation. The pond guy himself contacted me. He's like, Ed, we have to freshen up that wetland. I'm like, it's working great. He's like, I know, but I want to give it a facelift. He said, I'm working with Thomas Holt down in Central Florida. He's going to be getting us a series of beautiful different types of aquatic plants, and I want to showcase them inside this wetland filter. Instead of just dropping in a few new plants, we have to completely remove all the existing vegetation, and that is not an easy task. Let me show you what I mean here. Here's that plan view of one of these wetland filters. Again, just to show you a little bit more about this instead of the cross section. You can see all these different AquaBlox. Our target is 100 gallons per hour per AquaBlox. So you could actually count these guys up. 4 going across. We have 16 times 4, 64 at 100 times 100. So we're going to need 6,400 GPH target flow rate for this wetland filtration. Now this is giant. Look at the size of this thing. This is 12 foot wide by 20 feet long. That's a massive wetland filter. So here's what we actually have right out in front of our office, and that we're going to start ripping apart soon. So we have those AquaBlox. We have all of our centipede modules going across. We have 3 distinct layers of river rock. I'm going to come in and I'm going to remove this top layer of river stone. So this is a smaller stone. It's actually perfect for growing aquatic plants because you have lots of surface area. It's nice for the root systems to go through, etc. I'm going to be relying on Jack to come in with the excavator to start grabbing some of these big aquatic plants and scraping across that gravel. And then we're just going to remove the entire root mass as well as all the gravel that's kind of going to be stuck inside the root systems. And then we will dispose of that and take care of it as necessary. So here's what it looks like. So you can see the different layers. You got the big stuff down here on the bottom, you have your medium stuff, then you have that fine layer. So the majority, 90+% of the plant root mass is gonna be in that top 8 to 12 inches. That's what we're gonna focus on. We're gonna rip that stuff out. I don't wanna completely disrupt the entire ecosystem. This has been functioning already for this entire season, so I just wanna remove that top layer, pull the plants out, and then we're gonna come in with a fresh layer of river rock to top everything off. What I love about working with the wetland filtration system is the modular nature. As you see here, I can put them together 1,000 different configurations for a wide variety of projects. So I want to give you a better idea of what it actually looks like underneath the actual infrastructure of the filter. Typical excavation for a wetland filter, rectangles and squares. They're going to be at a specific depth. We're going to come across, we're going to dig a flat bottom. Lay out our snorkel centipede systems. We're going to dig a trough to recess those units down lower into the soil profile. Once we have that area recessed, we line everything with our rubber membrane, which is going to hold the water in place. We don't just want to put this on top of soil, otherwise all of our water would literally disappear into the soil. So we have that high velocity water coming in, and all of that sediment is going to build up in these AquaBlox layers. So when I backflush this, all of this water is going to get funneled down, and all of that stuff is going to get directed into one pinpoint area, and it's going to flow all the way down to our snorkel. So this is going to allow us to very efficiently flush and remove any of those sediments and solids that are inside of this filter bed. And again, this is all underneath everything. This is a false bottom. Our river rock is actually going to come way up over here. So we're going to have 18, 24, 36 inches of river rock. And again, it varies depending upon different projects, but all of that stuff is the active filter bed, and it's sitting on top of this void space, this hollow void space, which is actually the AquaBlox. And again, this is designed to work as a system. I want to make sure that when I'm putting these things together, it actually kind of falls in place and all these different pieces and parts actually line up. So here's what that wetland actually looks like once we get it backfilled with river rock. Then we're going to start coming in with all of our layers of river rock going around the outside perimeter, and then we slowly work our way all the way up to the top. Once we get completed up on the top layer, I start to change the shape a little bit. I don't like looking at a big rectangle. We are designing and building these very organically created water features. So we have lots of curves and coves and peninsulas and things like that. So I want to replicate that in our wetland as well. So in this picture, the wetland actually goes well beyond the limits of what you actually see. So what we do is we take our rubber membrane and we wrap it back on top of the AquaBlox, and then I start taking boulders and things and logs, and I start to dress up the outside perimeter, and then I'm going to create all the different strategic planting zones for the different types of aquatic plants, which are critical. Having the cattails, the sedges, the grasses, all these different things that have roots at different zones, but they also have different nutrient uptakes. So the green leafy plants like this are going to suck up lots of nitrogen, but during the flowering period, you're going to use lots of phosphorus. So we want to make sure that we are having a mixture of bloom time for our wetland filtration system. And that's where Thomas Holt is going to come into play, because the plants he's bringing out are going to be tropical type plants. So tropical plants planted here in the Chicagoland area are going to continue to bloom and grow all the way until it freezes outside. So when they're doing that, they're uptaking high amounts of nutrients out of the water column, which is going to give us better water quality. And that's what I'm really, really excited about this stuff. Here's what one of these wetlands is going to look like when it's complete, but you can see the thick growth. These are actually irises. There are arrowheads and other plants in here, but these irises, they are giant. Normally irises grow along the edge of a pond 24, maybe 30 inches tall or so. These irises are 5 to 6 feet tall, and that's because they are growing in a nutrient-rich environment. We're force feeding them at the root zone with a constant flow of water. So the plants explode in this type of an environment, which is critical because the growth processes, when they do really well, we have 100% guarantee that we're going to get good water quality. Some other different projects, Children's Museum of Sonoma County. Again, you can see the different flowering type plants that we're going to have in here, as well as green leafy plants, all of them working symbiotically together to deliver the desired water quality. And when we're done, the results are just speak for themselves. This is Gary Wittstock doing some underwater photography. It literally looks like you're on a tropical reef. And I mentioned this a few slides ago as well. I love the modular nature of this because I could design and build these things for any type of requirement. Recreational ponds, small ecosystem ponds, giant commercial locations which are handling stormwater runoff, as well as just beautiful serene spaces where we can kick back, relax, and enjoy the beauty of nature. So I hope you enjoyed this little bit of a lesson. I'm actually going to go out, I'm going to start working with Jack. We are going to drain out the wetlands, we're going to start to clean them, we're going to scrape away all of that vegetation, we're going to get these things back into place. Right in the middle of the wetland reconstruction over at Aqualand, and I wanted to take everybody out on a little bit of an excursion just to kind of break things up a little bit, but also to describe what actually happens in nature with a wetland filter. I shouldn't say wetland filter in nature because basically what this is, it's a wetland marsh area. It is the fringe area of an existing natural pond. This particular one, we do get some stormwater runoff coming in. We have a small little creek, a little tributary entering in, and what I think is unique about that is when we have high velocity water coming down those little creek beds, and then all of a sudden it hits these flat floodplain areas adjacent to the natural pond, the water velocity slows down, the water spreads itself out a little bit, and you get natural filtration and you get natural removal of sediments from the water column because the water velocity has slowed down. So over many, many years, what happens is all that little particulate keeps building up and building up and building up, and then what happens is it breaks the surface of the pond. Now all of a sudden we start to open ourselves up to different types of vegetation. Here you can see we have a mixture of willow as well as cattails intermingled together. We do have saturated soils underneath me. If I were to dig down 6 inches, I'm going to hit water. But that has all been created because of the deposition of all of that stuff, as well as the leaf litter that is just dying, the normal accumulation process of vegetation dying and building up on top of itself. The reason I want to explain all this, all the concepts that we use are basically biomimicry. We're using nature's methods, we're using nature's time-tested methods for many, many years, and we're working backwards off of those to figure out how they function, and that's going to help us to deliver specific water quality. The beauty of all this, because that high velocity creek system is coming in, this small wetland marsh area is actually filtering this large pond. If this was not here, any of the pollutants that were coming off of the nearby roadway are going to go directly into this water feature without being pre-filtered out. So the importance of all these things is very, very high. The root systems are growing down into the water column. They're utilizing the excess nitrogen and phosphorus, as well as picking up any of the sediments in the water, which is going to help to control algae issues, and it's going to give us better water quality overall. Whenever we have these well-established marsh areas and wetlands around our natural water features, the water quality is always 10 times greater. And that's because of the combination of biodiversity and these little riparian zones where we actually have buffers between the actual water and the landscaping area around it. These naturalized areas are critical for the overall health of water on planet Earth. I hope you enjoyed this entire vlog so far. This has been a lot of fun. I love the new paddlefish that came in. Living dinosaurs right here in our front pond. Unbelievable. watching them every single day as they continue to navigate their way through the beautiful waters here is just going to be amazing to see over the coming weeks as well as months as all the vegetation and everything starts to mature. Then on top of that, the beautiful aquatic plants that Thomas Holt is currently putting together for us during the wetland renovation project. Jack and I, we were effectively able to come in, remove all of that nasty gravel off the top, opened up the void space again, rinsed everything down really well. Now we topped it off with new gravel. We're waiting on those plants to come in because that's the missing piece. We want to take the water quality to the next level. Whenever I start talking about not just all the beautiful koi fish and the paddlefish, but we have turtles in here. Right behind me, we have a huge group of baby geese that have actually starting to grow up here. And all that means to me, from a biological standpoint, is there's more poop in the water. And that means we got to get rid of it. So their waste is going to go down into the water. It can actually become toxic. If these animals were in a smaller enclosure, the koi would probably die. But because the water is being diluted out, we're giving it ample time to go through the necessary filtration system, settling out inside of those AquaBlox. The water's going through all of that river rock, and all of the poop coming from those geese is actually going to help those plants, once we get them planted, to actually flourish. And that is the beauty about sustainable designs, working with Mother Nature to create beautiful, dynamic water features.